And let's take a look at this major update from the FDA. Today, we limited the authorized use of the Janssen COVID-19 vaccine to those 18 and over for whom other authorized approved vaccines are not accessible or clinically appropriate, and to those who elect Janssen because they would otherwise not receive a COVID vaccine. So that last part's particularly interesting. But the news is that it's over the blood clot risk. U.S. restricts use of Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine over rare blood clot risk. The FDA said the shot should be given only to those who request it or cannot receive other vaccines, and you have to be 18 and older. My understanding is that the data on this is not, I don't think it's new, that we've known about the risk of blood clots for some time. It was actually taken off the market for some time. So I'm wondering if, I suppose my issue initially that we can jump into here, how many people should have gotten this FDA warning some time ago if we knew about the blood clot risk?
Yeah, I mean, well, if this is something we knew about, everyone should have been able to know. They should have been able to make an informed decision about what they were putting in their body and the risk it posed to them. Because this information was kept from us, because we couldn't really accelerate the dialogue around the vaccines in order to get the best information about it, because anyone who contradicted the narrative was told that they were not trusting the science, there are serious consequences.
Yeah,
we're talking about human lives here.
Right. It's if in a society, in an ideal society, immediately everyone should know if there's a problem like this. But in hypersensitive, censorious areas, you can't. That's the big problem with censorship. Like, not censorship in general, but just like misappropriated censorship or over censor. What are you gonna?
So I was gonna say the establishment likes to do this retroactive fact checking thing, where let's say today a man gets in a rocket ship and flies off, and he screams, "I'm going to the moon," and we're like, "Oh wow, that was crazy." And then we come on this show and we say, "Did you hear the story about that guy who got in the rocket ship and yelled he was going to the moon? That crazy?" A week later, the news comes out he actually went to Mars. And what they'll do is they'll say, "Fact check false." Will get flagged, and they'll write stories saying they spread disinformation about the man in the rocket ship who was actually going to Mars. So what happens is we can come out and talk about lab leak, for instance, in COVID. And we'll say, based on the current contextual information, our best assessment is this. A week later, the news changes. The fact checkers then take your old story and call you fake news based on information that came out a week later. Mm-hmm. See the game? Let me show you this.
That's not what happens to Fauci, though, ever.
Oh, right.
No, but they hid a lot of this information, too. We knew about the blood clots. We knew about, especially with women, they were having issues with their menstrual cycles, and they covered it up, and all the headlines were, it doesn't affect your period. It doesn't affect your menstrual cycle. The blood clots are...
For the first few months, that was the story. And then a few months later, they're like, oh, by the way, women are reporting issues with their menstrual cycles. Take a look at this from Breaking 911. They say, strange how the AP's tweet, same exact headline, isn't flagged as misleading. The AP said, U.S. regulators strictly limited who can receive J&J's COVID-19 vaccine due to a rare but serious risk of blood clots. The FDA said the shot should only be given to adults. Okay, so we know that. Now take a look at this photo. Breaking 911. Posting an image. Breaking. FDA restricts J&J COVID-19 vaccine due to blood clot risk. Misleading. Learn why health officials consider COVID-19 vaccines safe for most people. Here's the best part. That misleading tag linked to an April 1st fact check. So old information fact-checking a new breaking story.
And it could have been an April Fool's joke for all we know.
Yeah. That's right. How are we supposed to know for sure? Well, right now, if you look at Breaking 911, they've actually removed the misleading flag on it. That's good. But they do give Breaking 911, according to NewsGuard, they give it a fake news. Here's where it gets even better. The headline used by Breaking 911 is identical to the New York Post. Now, I know they said the same as the AP. The AP's headline was different. It says serious but rare. Theirs doesn't. But the New York Post is identical. That's the problem with censorship. So now we have the story coming out from Pfizer, this big data dump. And it's actually quite alarming. And the problem is the people working at YouTube right now, the censors, many of them are probably not even in the US. They have no idea. So even this story right now, breaking, the FDA has strictly restricted the J&J vaccine. We run the risk of getting banned because YouTube censors are looking at they got like a laminated placard and it says when to ban someone. They're like, if they talk bad about vaccines, you got to ban them. well, they are. I guess I do.
Yeah,
Press the ban
probably
button.
more specific. They have a Slack channel where they send it out, this article, and they're like, is this bannable? They're like, well, no, that's got this. But if, and then they cross-reference it with like, if they do it in this context, yeah. If it's in this context, no.
No.
And then they have to make individual decisions.
These are outsourced. These are outsourced. The people who are doing the banning, many of them aren't in this country, not on Slack channels. And I think the fact that we're looking at Twitter, this is why I'm making the point. Twitter censored Breaking 911 due to month-old information. It's a news story. That goes to show you the people who are flagging it are not communicating on what this news is.